Okay, a very good afternoon, students. So today we'll continue with the lesson 2 dear. In the last video, students, we saw, when we discussed the initial part of the story, it's about the kingdom of Monaco, which is a very small kingdom, and we said that there were taxes paid by the citizens, but the major source of income was through gaming houses, where the king collected a substantial amount in those gaming houses. Yes, many people were ruined. Many people were doomed, they lost their lives, but that did not make any difference to the king, because he believed you cannot earn stone palace by honest labor. That means only by honesty and sincerity and hard work you cannot earn money. Sometimes you have to take recourse to unfair means. Yes, if while making money, if someone is ruined, while you are making money, if someone's life is lost, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that was probably his belief, and that's why he allowed gambling in his kingdom. Now, when we come to the second part of the story, students, we see that one day a murder is committed, and as I told you all, the council got together and they decided that we will give him death sentence. That means we'll execute him. The people of Monaco were basically peace-loving. Okay, so till then, there was no, in past, there was no such occasion when they had to award punishment to someone. So this time, such a situation had come, a murder was committed, and the time had come to award punishment. Now, how would they punish the criminal? Okay, they would give him death sentence, but they decided to use a gulleton. Gulleton is like a kind of a, you can say, a machine which beheads the criminal. Okay, with the pulling of the lever, the sharp knife of the gulleton lands on the criminal's neck and he dies. So that is how a criminal is killed. Okay, so but what was the problem here? The problem here was that Monaco did not have a gulleton. Okay, now gulleton is quite an expensive machine. So they decided, let us take it on rent from neighboring countries like bigger kingdoms like France. They had a gulleton. So they asked France to lend them one, a gulleton and an executioner. France said, okay, we'll lend it to you, but you have to give us a rent of 16,000 francs. So the king again thought, oh my God, we'll have to spend 16,000 francs. So then he decided, let us ask Italy, because France had a republic, kind of a democratic form of government, while Italy, they had a rule of monarchy. Okay, they had monarchy. And the king of Italy was a very close friend of the king of Monaco. So as a friend, they expected the king of Italy to oblige or probably give the gulleton for free, or let the gulleton for free, or probably charge a very small amount. But no, even the king of Italy said, yes, we lend it to you, but you will have to give us 12,000 francs as rent. Now, the king, as I told, we saw earlier, students, money was something too dear for the king. The king would go to any lengths in order to save money. Yes, and he could make any compromises also for the sake of money. Nothing else mattered to him. Money was too dear to him. So then, now what to do? They could not get a gulleton at a cheap rate, at the expected rate. So again, the council came together. And then we decided, let us change the punishment. Let us change it from a death sentence to life imprisonment. Life imprisonment means as long as a criminal is alive, he will be languishing in prison. He will never have freedom. He will never have a life of freedom. Okay, he will always remain in prison till his death. So, they decided to do that. Now, as we all know, the king did it in order to save money. Yes, but he projected it, like in English, students, we have a phrase, that is making a virtue out of a necessity. Virtue means, showing that you are doing such a good deed. The king was not doing it out of any kind of mercy or sympathy for the criminal. He was changing the punishment only to save money, but he spoke about it, or he projected it to everyone that he was changing the punishment from death sentence to life imprisonment because he wanted to, because he was so merciful, And Okay, now as you know, the criminal had got his message. The criminal by now must have known very well that they had spared his life, not out of any mercy or sympathy or pity for him. It was only to save money, and the criminal was a very smart man apparently. And even probably the onlookers, the people also must have guessed and realized why this punishment was changed. Anyway, going further with the story, now the criminal was put in prison. Okay, they did not even have a proper prison, but somehow they managed some place where the criminal was kept. And they also had a guard, a sentry, who stood there guarding the prisoner, and the guard's duty was to stand outside and during meal times fetch the food from the kitchen. So this was all that the guard did, for which the guard also received some wages. Now, at the end of the year, when the king was going through his accounts, he realized that they were spending 600 francs on the criminal. Okay, 600 francs. Now again the king thought, oh my God, why do we need to spend so much money on this rascal, on this villain? Yes, 600 francs is quite a lot of amount. Can't we escape? So again, can't we escape paying it, spending it? So again he called his council, and they sat together and they discussed what can be done about it. Now what to do? Now the only option left was that the criminal must be released. Okay, he must be set free. But they did not want to do, they again did not want to show that they released him. So they thought that if they dismiss the guard, the criminal will escape. Yes. So they promptly dismissed the guard, but they were in for a surprise, because even after they dismissed the guard, the criminal continued to stay in prison. He would promptly at mealtime go to the kitchen, fetch his food, and then eat his food, and then again go and stay in the prison. So they were taken aback. They escaped that. They expected that as soon as the guard is dismissed, he will run away. So why is it not happening like that? So again they called the criminal and asked him, why aren't you running away? Yes. And now listen to what the criminal says. Okay. Now here students, the criminal words, the way the criminal speaks to the king and the people, the council, is what you can say is you can say something like poignant. Okay, something you can understand how he can speak so arrogantly, how he can speak so aggressively with them. That is because students, he knows their weakness. Okay, he by now has realized that I can manipulate these people. These people can do anything for money, and I will use this weakness as my strength. The criminal by now has realized that if he just runs away like that, he will not get a penny. But if he stands his ground and puts some condition before that, they will agree, because at the end of the day, for them, things like justice, law, norms, rules don't matter. For them, all that matters is money. Okay? So that is why he speaks very, very arrogantly with them. In Hindi, we have a saying, Ulta chor kotwal ko date. The criminal is actually scolding or reprimanding the cop. That is the literal meaning. In English, as we say, the coal calling the kettle black. Here, this criminal is not someone who has done a small crime. He is actually a murderer. Okay, he's a criminal. He has taken someone's life. But see the way he's arguing. He tells the king and his men that, see, first you all gave me death sentence. Why didn't you all carry it out? Yes, you all should have put me to death. Okay, then you all changed it to life imprisonment. Then you all dismissed the guard. I had to fetch my own food, as if he had to face so many difficulties. That's how he's talking. And then he tells them that, see, now if I go out from prison, what work am I to do? Who will give me work? People will turn their backs to me. People will reject me. What am I to do in this outside world? You all have ruined my life. Yes, he is someone who has taken another person's life, but he is accusing them and saying, you all have ruined my life by not giving me the apt punishment. So, I don't know what to do. So that's why I don't want to leave the prison. all these students, we can understand the criminal is not saying because he is convinced about it or he believes in it. He also wants a life of freedom, but as I told you, he is saying all this because he wants to make the most of the situation. Okay, so the king and the council again sat together, and then they decided, let us give him a pension. Okay, students, pension is generally given to a person at the time of his retirement, usually in government jobs, as a recognition for his service, where they give him a fixed amount every month for his upkeep. So here you can see they decide to give pension to a criminal. So they decided the amount, and they decide we'll give him 600 francs. So they again call the criminal and say, okay, we'll give you a pension. Will you leave the prison then? The criminal says okay, and he actually orders them and says, see, you must give me 1/3 of the amount in advance, and afterwards every month I must get my amount on time. This is how he talks to them, as if it is something, he's asking for his rights, or he's claiming his right or something. Anyway, they agreed to it, and we are told the criminal has agreed. He was given 1/3 of the amount. The criminal settled somewhere in the periphery of the kingdom, where he had a small land where he did market gardening, gardening on a very small scale. He earned some money through that, and every month, of course, students, he got a fixed amount from the king's treasury. And he spent some amount also on gambling, so maybe the king was happy there or whatever. So in this way, the criminal led his life. So you can see, students, the story ends there. So that is the story told here. Now let us understand, students, firstly, the first aspect is, what is the story telling us? Now mainly, students, the criminal. Now if you know, students, when a crime is awarded to a person, it is not just punishing the person. The punishment is also a deterrent. That means it should be something that discourages antisocial elements or this kind of people with criminal mindset to commit crimes. That means we are sending a message to the people that, look, if you commit a crime, you will also be subjected to a similar punishment. You will meet the same fate. Okay, so that is why how we deal with our criminals is a very important system. Is a very important part of our justice system. So now, if you see what kind of a message the King of Monaco had given the people of his kingdom, he was actually telling them that you have committed a crime and we will give you a pension. Okay, this is the message he gave the people. Till then, we are told the crime rate in Monaco was almost nil, but I believe after this incident, many people must have garnered the courage to commit crimes, maybe. Another thing, students, it is also telling the neighboring countries and kingdoms that, this is how we deal with our criminals, how our justice system is, how we believe in fairness and fair play. Yes, the wrongdoer always gets a punishment. Moreover, students, when we are law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, so we believe that whenever some harm is done to us, the perpetrator of that crime is punished by the law. We never take the law in our hands. We go and complain to the cops, we complain to the police, and we believe the law of the land will deal with it. That is how a civilized society exists. But you can imagine, students, whose murder he has committed, okay? The person who died who was murdered by him, how his friends or family members must have felt about it, that the murderer actually got a pension. So that was something very wrong that happened. And as I told you all, it also sends a very important message about the law of the land, okay, about the sense of justice, fairness, okay, how it is implemented, okay, how much peace exists there, what kind of a secure life is given to the citizens, okay, all these matters. So you can see Monaco, probably the King of Monaco painted a very poor image of himself in the minds of all the neighboring kingdoms also. So that is it. And another very important aspect, as in the previous video also I told you, that he believed, the King of Monaco believed, you can't earn stone palace by honest labor. So here you can see, students, in the same thing. he was a kind of a victim of his own belief. He believed that if you have to earn money, every time you cannot earn money just by hard work. Sometimes dishonesty can also fetch you money, which actually happened in his kingdom, and he was the one paying the money. A murderer, now you can imagine the murderer, if he had really worked hard, toiled it day and night, probably he wouldn't have earned that much money. But by committing a murder, he earned so much money. So, and the king was paying him a pension. So, now probably it was the criminal's turn to say that aloud. You can't earn stone palace by honest labor. Yes, you can earn stone palace by murder. That is what probably the criminal will be saying. So, these are the basic aspects of the story, students, here, okay? And of course, one more aspect we will discuss is, as you can see, students, when we spoke about the criminal in prison and the king was spending 600 francs on him annually, and the king felt that was a big amount, so he did not want. That is also there, students. In our Indian prisons also, there are many criminals, and a substantial, I won't say substantial, but yes, a quite considerable part of taxes are spent on the upkeep of those criminals, okay? Like for example, in India, this was a matter of debate when Qassam, the terrorist who was in our Indian prison for more than a year, the total amount we spent on him was 50 crores. So many people were unhappy about it. They raised a hue and cry and said that in a country where people are starving, people don't have a roof over their head, and we spend so much money on a terrorist, on a criminal. But yes, sometimes these things have to be done in order to meet justice, in order to see that fairness always exists, okay? So even a criminal should have a say. That is why his case was fought in our courts until we decided that death sentence is the only punishment for him. So that is about it. So with that, students, we conclude the lesson here. In our next video, we will discuss the question answers. Thank you, students. Take care, stay home, stay safe.